Hi everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Java Tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about graphics. And graphics are kind of complicated, but it's kind of what everyone wants to know how to do. So with Java, a lot of the times we've had the little dialog box that comes up in the bottom and just prints out our answer. But a lot of what people want to do is they want to make a game or whatever. And for that, you probably want to use graphics. So I'm going to show you that, but bear with me, it's a little complicated. So this is the main. This is all we have in our main. So this is what we had been writing all of our code in so this stuff, but there's more elsewhere that you have to worry about. So the first thing you want to do is import the javax.swing.jframe. And that lets you make JFrames, which is something that you need to do. Then you can you pretty much want to copy this code. I'll explain it line by line, but a lot of it you are only going to know it if you were told to do it. It's not really stuff that you can come up with. So the first thing is you name the panel. So demo panel is what I'm using, which is up here. It's actually another file over here. So I named it demo panel, and this is making an object. It's making a panel object. So demo panel equals new panel, and it doesn't have any parameters, so you can leave those blank. The next thing is you're making a frame object, a JFrame object. So JFrame frame equals new JFrame, and then you in the parameters here are the name of your JFrame. So this is actually the thing that pops out and has your graphic in it. So that's the name of the window. Mine's just name to keep it generic. And then this is stuff that has to do with when content gets added to the panel. So that's just what that does. Set default close operation makes it so that when you close the window, it exits, which is what you want. Most of the time, at least. Frame.pack, I honestly don't know. I know you need it. Frame.setVisible just makes it so you can see it. And panel.run. This is something that you do handle. So, this panel here, is a demo panel object. So, you actually have to deal with all of the stuff that you have to do with the demo panel. You make all that. So panel.run. So there's some demo panel. So this is the demo panel class, and you have made one, and you are having it use the run method. Now, you go over here, and this is when things start to get really complicated. You're probably going to want to import these things. Color, dimension, graphics, and you certainly need graphics and JPanel. And dimension as well. And color is something that you probably also want, so you can, see color. So, you import all those things, and we'll use them as we go. So the first thing is, you want it to extend JPanel. And that has to do with object inheritability, which I've already talked a bit about. So if you say extends JPanel, then it has all of the abilities of a JPanel, but also what you add. Now this is a JPanel plus some more, is what we have here. Now the public demo panel, so this is where we have constructors. And because over here, we didn't have any constructors, we don't have any here either. So this sets the background color of your window. So I just have mine as black right now. And this sets the dimensions of the window, and that's number of pixels. Now we have the paint component, which is that's a part of graphics that we've imported. So public void paint component, and then it takes graphics as a parameter here. So graphics G and super.paint component. So that just means that's another object inheritability thing. It has all the abilities of paint component, and then you put graphics. You put your graphics thing into it. So that's its parameter. And this is where everything gets actually. This is where you're handling all the painting. So later on, we have a method that's called repaint, and what that does is it calls paint component and changes whatever is on your window, and can move it. So every time you call repaint, it goes to this method and says, "What should I be drawing right now?" So I have made a box. So I have a draw box method, which you can see here. So the first thing I do is I set, basically I'll get back to that later, but so this just has to do with painting things. That's when things get painted. When we get down to the run method, pretty much all you really need here is this repaint, which just what that does is it calls the paint method, and then it will put something on the screen. But I have this other stuff here because there are times when you want to do more. So while true makes this run forever, so the window will never stop working. And then there's this try catch statement here, and that has to do with how long between repaints. So every 15 milliseconds, it will repaint. And the reason why, so that it stops the program for 15 milliseconds, and then you continue, and then it will continue on with the program. And the catch statement doesn't have anything in it because nothing really happens to warrant having anything in it. It just is necessary to have a catch after a try, or else you get a try without catch error. And then you repaint, which is a method that just goes to paint component. Now, G is a graphics object. So graphics have different methods. A graphics object has things like set color, which changes the color of more or less the brush that you use. Draw a line. Just draws a line, and it will take 2 points as the parameters, and it will draw between one point and the other. So this is a pretty simple thing for drawing a box. So the first thing it does is it takes the parameters, the x-coordinate, the y-coordinate, and the size. And for my box, and this can be different for different boxes, you get the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate of the top left corner, and then you add the sizes to it. So it would look something like this. You have, this is where the top left is, and then you add the size to it, and it will draw a line from there to there. It will take the top left, and it will add the size to the y-coordinate, and it will draw a line from there to there. It will draw a line from here to here, and from here to here. So that's just like step by step how to draw a box, because computers don't know necessarily how to draw a box. So when I run this, you'll see that I get a panel that has a box in it. And the panel has the name because when I made it, that's what it was. So you can get pretty in-depth with graphics. That's it for just putting something on the screen, but if you want to do more with it, what you end up doing is you end up wanting to make an object. You usually want to make an object if you want to do more. So we'll quickly make an object. We'll call it a box object. And let's call it a rectangle. So we have made a rectangle object. Now I'm just going to quickly run through all of the get and set methods, just so that we have them. So there'll be the x coordinate, the y coordinate, the size. We'll call the vertical size because it's a rectangle, and the horizontal size because it's a rectangle. And the other things we're going to give it are speeds. So we'll give it a vertical speed, and a horizontal speed. So presumably our rectangle will have a location, and it will have two components of speed going in the horizontal and vertical directions. Now we want to make our constructor. So public rectangle. So we want to get all those variables to be initialized in our constructor. So int x, int y, and you'll notice I'm using capitals here because that will differentiate between the variables that are up there and the variables that are down here. So where am I? H size. And now we just quickly set everything equal to what it needs to be equal to. So x equals x, y equals y, v size equals v size. And you can feel free to fast forward through this, because this is tedious. Okay, so those are the constructors. Now we need all of our get set methods, which are also going to be tedious and take a while. So public, yeah, let's do all of our get methods first. So public int get x. And what this will do is it will return x. And remember that this right here is the return type, so it will return whatever you put in there. So we're returning an integer here. So, and x is an integer. So there you go. So we have to do those for all of these. And now we have all of the set methods. So we are able to access the variables for a rectangle, but we can't change them yet. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to make our set methods. So they're very similar to these, except instead of returning an int, you return nothing. You have void, public void. And we name them set. So public void set x. And it will take an integer as a parameter. And you set it equal to there. And you just do that a whole bunch of times. Okay, and those are all of our set methods. So you'll notice that it just took a long time. It wasn't very complicated to get all these done. But they're necessary for certain things. What we're going to have here is a rectangle that will actually be able to move around the screen. So what we want to do is we want to go back and we want to make a rectangle object. So here we'll do rectangle, and we'll name it rectangle of REC equals new rectangle. And now we have to put in all of our parameters. So we had an x coordinate, so we'll go with 100. A y coordinate, we'll say 200. A vertical size, we'll say 100 again. And a horizontal size, we'll say 300. And now the speed. So let's say that the vertical speed is 0 and the horizontal speed is 10. And we'll start working on those in a second. And this is where having this stuff in run comes in handy. So we have this rectangle that we have different variables for. So what we can do is we need a method for drawing one of these rectangles. And I'll make one with you guys. So public void draw rectangle. And you'll notice it's going to be very similar to the draw box method. So int x. Actually, what we can do is we can take a rectangle object as a parameter, and this has all of the information that we need to draw a rectangle. So public void draw rectangle, and we just take a rectangle, and we can name it rectangle R. So this gives us all of the information about a rectangle that we need, and we can use the rectangle object to make these. So here we go. We can do r.get r.getx, or we should do. So we're going to want to draw it. So we also need a graphics. So graphics. So here's what we do. G dot, and you'll notice that tons and tons of methods come up for all kinds of different things that you can draw. So, but we're going to do it with lines just to stay simple. G dot draw line. And we're going to go from r dot get x. So that's the x location. So if I'm drawing this as we go, that's this top left little box. So dot get x, r dot get y, and that so the x coordinate it's like this plane, and the y coordinate is this plane, and this is where we intersect right here. So that gives us the top left corner of our rectangle. Now what we want is to get the top right corner over here. So if this is x, y, then what's over here must be x, y plus some stuff. So some size, which we actually have the variable for. So what we do is we do x again, so r.getx, and then we do r.gety. This is when all of the methods kind of come into play. So r.gety plus r.get horizontal size. And that gives us a line from this point to this point, giving us the top of our box. And we can do similar things down here. So g dot draw line. And this is also going to get pretty boring, but it's necessary. And the other thing is you can actually, if you do this once, that makes it so that you can do it a million times. In computers, in general, if you can do something once, you can do it a lot of times very easily. And the other thing you can do is you can copy the previous line and paste it in, and then change the things. Because we know that this is still going to be this same coordinate up here, which is what we want. And then we just need to change this coordinate here to over here. So we know the y coordinate is going to be the same as it is up there. So we want to get rid of this. And we want to change this to x plus r dot get vertical size. And that gives us a line from here to here. And we're going to want to copy all this again and paste it in there. And now we need to think, well, we want to go from here to here. So, this spot right there is going to be this, because this is when we were drawing this line here, we drew from this location down to this location, and this is the second location, which is going to be the starting point of our next line, so we can actually use that right now. So what we can do is we can cut this out, or copy it, and paste it in over here, and that's our starting location. And then we want to go to the final location, which is going to be the X and the Y plus both of the sizes. So X plus vertical size and Y plus R dot get horizontal size. So get H size. And that gives us our line from here to here. And now we just need this line from there to there. So to get that, all we need to do is go back to this, which is, so we'll just copy another, so we need to get this, this location up here and this location down here. And we already have written out both of those locations. We just need to put them in the right spots. So this is the second part of the first line we drew. So we go up to the first line, we take the second part, which starts here and goes to there. And we put it in here. And then we need the second part of the last line we drew, which goes from here to here. And then we paste that in for the second part here. Whoops, that's not right. So from here to here, and we paste it in over the second part. So right there. Okay. And that should draw from here to here. Now that we have the draw method, and we should also pick a color. So G dot set color, or is it just G dot color? Yeah, G dot set color. Set color. Color dot blue. So now we should have a blue rectangle. And we just need to throw that in there. All right. So now we have the ability to draw this rectangle. And what we want to do is we want to put that into paint component. So this is the part that's very simple. We just call on the method because we have made the entire method. We did all of the heavy lifting already. So draw a rectangle. And then you put our rectangle object in it, which we have made. And we put our graphics, which we have here. And that should draw a rectangle for us. And you'll notice that we have a blue rectangle next to our yellow square. Now we can start doing things like moving the rectangle. Because we've drawn the rectangle, but we didn't really do anything that has to do with its movement. And we do have variables for its speed, here and here. So, what we can do is we go to our run method, and this is when we start doing stuff in here. So, while true, so this is always running. This is always running. And it will change every 15 thousandths of a second, or 15 hundredths. I'm pretty sure it's thousandths. Now, what we want to do is use the speed to change the location just a little bit. So, if the speed is 10, what we can do is we can move the rectangle 10 pixels. And this is the horizontal speed. So what we want to do is, so we have this rectangle, right? We have some rectangle rect. Dot set, so set x, because it's a horizontal speed. And x has to do with horizontal coordinates. So rect.set x. And then we're going to set it equal to the current location that it has, plus the speed that it has. So what that will do is, as this runs, it will move across the screen. And you see that it takes off and goes down the screen. And there it goes. And if we change the speed here to something lower, so 5, it will go slower, obviously, because it's moving fewer pixels at a time. And that looks pretty smooth for what it is. The other thing that we have is we did the same thing with vertical speed. So if we copy paste that and swap all the x's with y's, and this h with a v, we'll get a vertical speed. But because we have our vertical speed as 0, there shouldn't be a difference. If we change the vertical speed to 4, it should move down the screen. One more thing to note is that when you're drawing things, they're drawn from the top left corner, because you'll notice that when if you were to draw it from the bottom left, which is what you get whenever you draw on graph paper or something, you draw from the bottom left. You don't really have a consistent point of reference. It would be very weird to draw from the bottom left, but because this is the top of the screen, this is very consistent. It's drawn from there, and so this box right here has a location of 300, 200, 100, and a size of 100. So this is over 300 pixels, down 200 pixels, with a size of 100. So it's drawn from the top. So if you were to make, I guess, a game, one thing that will be confusing is when you want something to fall, its y-coordinate is increasing, not decreasing. That's just one thing to keep in mind. So that's pretty much it. We have the capability to make objects, draw them, move them around on the screen, and change them as you go. So you can do all kinds of things with this. You can be very creative with the methods that you put in here, so that things look like they have gravity, or things seem to have friction. The last thing that I'm going to mention is there is a pre-made Java rectangle object, but it's not really what you would think. It's not for drawing a rectangle so much. It's for, and because I imported it, my rectangle object is conflicting with it, so it doesn't like that. So I'm going to comment this. But what the rectangle object has, this rectangle object that you can import, it has the ability to decide whether two rectangles are intersecting. And what that means is, so this takes different parameters and it makes a little rectangle. And you don't see it anywhere on the screen, but it allows you to say, oh, does this rectangle hit that rectangle? And if it does, then you can do different things. So if you wanted to make, for instance, Pong, where you have this. This is the screen, right? And you want the ball to be able to bounce off of the top of the screen. How do you know that the ball is at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen? Well, that's pretty easy. You just need to use the coordinates of the ends of the screen, which you set over here. These are the dimensions of the screen. You can just use those. But what if you wanted if you're making a Pong game, then how do you know if it's going to bounce off of these paddles that you made? How do you know if the ball's going to go off of these? That's when you start to use the collision method. So what you end up doing is you make a rectangle around the ball and a rectangle object around your paddle. And if the intersect method returns true, then you can have it do something, like bounce. It's easier if you try to do something with it and play around with it. And it's sort of hard to explain, but you should know that that's something that you can use. That is a tool that you can utilize. That was a very long episode on graphics, review of objects, some loops, definitely methods, and that's pretty much it for Java tutorials. Thanks for watching.